Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Got to make some minor corrections here to a text I'm getting ready to send over to Jeff. We want to get these video segments up on our website just as soon as they're recorded, so need to get a title for them. And then once I get the title, we're going to put them in an email, and then off they go. And now we can get back to our business. 888-589-8840, number to call if you would like to join the program. I want to talk for a minute about the immigration situation. I want to take a segment to talk about that. And we've got a number of kind of very significant things that are going on with regard to immigration right now that are very illustrative. I think one of the things we need to understand is that we've got the Republican Party elites that are pushing hard for amnesty. Valerie Jarrett, who is the president's chief advisor, she said that she had a commitment from John Boehner. That was her word. We have a commitment from John Boehner to get amnesty done. They're talking about doing it in August. Karl Rove out there yesterday saying we got to get amnesty done. Probably the best time to do it is a lame duck session. That's after the election. That is just reprehensible, ladies and gentlemen. That is unethical. No serious business ever ought to be done in a lame duck session. I mean, it's fine to have Congress in session in case you've got some kind of an emergency that comes up. I don't have a problem with that. But no serious legislation should be done in a lame duck session unless it's imperative, unless there's some kind of an emergency there, because the people have spoken in November. They've made it clear who they want to represent them starting in January. And for the sitting legislators, many of whom have been voted out of office, where the people have rejected them, the people have said, no, we don't want you voting for us. We don't want you crafting legislation for us. We want the other guy. And for that guy, even though legally he can still, it's absolutely immoral for them to pass legislation. And that's how we got Obamacare. We got Obamacare in a lame duck session. So this is obviously a horrible way to craft legislation. For Karl Rove to be behind this tells you virtually all you need to know about Karl Rove. You know, and our view, my view of immigration is very simple. Let's build a fence, a double-layer security fence across the entire border with Mexico. We got 30,000 troops on the border between South Korea and North Korea. That border is tight. That is sealed up. It is tighter than an oil drum. So we can do it. We know we can do it. We know how to do it. We know how to patrol a border. We know how to secure a border. We're doing it every single day in Asia. So we can do it here. We just lack the will, not the capacity. So we need to build a double-layer security fence, and it works. I've got a story here from Madrid, the Associated Press. Spanish authorities say around 700 African migrants have charged its barbed wire border fences in the country's North African enclave of Melilla, but all were repulsed by Spanish and Moroccan border guards. Said 700 people try to rush the fence, and they were repelled. So what worked? It was a fence that was guarded, that was protected by border guards, and it worked. All 700 of them were turned back before they could illegally immigrate into Europe. You know, and I think all we need to do is to take our immigration laws as seriously as Mexico does. You probably heard about this Marine that is still in jail. He's been in jail in Mexico since March because he took a wrong turn. He wound up in Mexico completely by accident, and the Mexican authorities still have him in jail. Here's a piece from Newsmax, a worried 9/11 call for help from combat veteran Marine Sergeant Andrew Tamaresi, jailed in Mexico since March on weapons charges, really immigration charges. He had some weapons in the back of his truck, appears to support his claim he'd crossed the border by mistake. In the tape obtained by The Blaze, Tamaresi tells the 9/11 operator, quote, "The problem is I crossed the border by accident and I have 3 guns in my truck and they're trying to take my guns from me." The operator asks, "So you're in Mexico?" Tamaresi replies, "Yeah." 9/11 operator declares, "There's nothing I can help you with, sir. I do apologize." So he was placed under arrest by the Mexican police. He's facing 6 to 21 years in a Mexican prison. So ladies and gentlemen, here's what I say. Let's just take our immigration laws as seriously as Mexico does. I mean, we just had this story about 36,000 criminal aliens. 36,000 criminal aliens released we found out they'd been released by Obama. 193 homicide convictions among that group, 426 sexual assault convictions, 303 kidnapping convictions, 1,075 aggravated assault convictions. These are not arrests, ladies and gentlemen. These are people who have been arrested, have been tried, and have been convicted. Now, that consumes an enormous amount of taxpayer resources right there. The fact that these illegals were even in the country to commit these crimes to begin with, and then we have to consume untold taxpayer resources in order to try them and convict them and incarcerate them, and now they just let them go. So they're out wandering loose in American society. 9,187 dangerous drug convictions, 16,000 drunk or drugged driving convictions. People die every day because people drive under the influence, and these people are out there, these illegal aliens, criminal aliens, out there absolutely loose. Now, the question is, why are they out there? Now, this is interesting because Hillary Clinton has a part of this. Hillary Clinton is implicated in this. Mark Krikorian, Center for Immigration Studies, explains how this has happened. The Supreme Court has held that the federal government can detain aliens for deportation up to 6 months, but generally must release the alien into the United States after that point if there is no significant likelihood of removal in the reasonably foreseeable future. So if you can't remove them, you just got to let them go. If you can't deport them, you just got to let them go. One of the main reasons such a situation arises is that a criminal alien's home country will refuse to take its nationals back. So we got to deport somebody. He's committed a crime. He's committed a sexual assault. He's committed a murder, some kind of drug trafficking thing, and we want to deport him. And his home country says, no, we don't want him back. You keep him. We don't want that kind of scum, that kind of filth in our country. You keep him. And so the question then becomes, why would a criminal alien's home country take the criminal back? Because federal law requires the Secretary of State to stop issuing visas to the citizens of any country that refuses to take back its nationals. Understand what's going on here. If you got a criminal alien inside the United States, he's apprehended, and you want to deport him, and his home country says, no, we're not going to take him back, it is the law that our government can no longer issue visas to anybody from that country. You can't issue visas by law to any country that refuses to take back its nationals for obvious reasons. Refusing, this story on Powerline goes on, refusing to issue visas to citizens of a foreign country would provide a powerful incentive for that country to take back its nationals and thus create a significant likelihood of removal in the foreseeable future. In other words, if other countries knew that the only way they could keep having immigrants come to the United States legally was to take the criminal aliens back, and if they didn't take them back, the visa door was going to be shut down, and all that money that could be made in the U.S. and shipped back to their country, that tap was going to be shut off, that pipeline was going to be closed down. That have a pretty powerful incentive to take these criminal aliens back. But according to Krikorian, Hillary Clinton and John Kerry have ignored the law and have continued issuing visas to citizens of countries that refuse to take back their citizens. So not only is Barack Obama violating the law, but Hillary Clinton violating the law and John Kerry violating the law, continuing to issue visas to immigrants from these countries that are refusing to take criminal aliens back. And again, this is a matter of law. The law reads, the Secretary of State shall order consular officers to discontinue granting immigrant visas. Secretary of State shall order, not may, but shall. That is a directive. One last thing before we go back to the phones. I don't know if you saw this story. Here's another reason to build a fence. Chiricahua, I don't know how you say that, Chiricahua Park employee was nearly killed by an illegal alien. This is KVOA.com, Tucson. A park employee left for dead at the Chiricahua National Monument 9 months ago speaks out about her attack. Karen Gonzalez was viciously beaten in broad daylight in one of the park restrooms. She suffered a brain injury and is now walking with a limp. She was cleaning the women's restroom at the Faraway Ranch campground. She heard a noise, saw her attacker coming at her with a rock. He hit her so hard. He was an illegal alien. He hit her so hard that it broke the rock. He broke the rock over this poor woman's skull, who was 60 years old. He not only hit her with the rock, he slammed her up against the metal door. Her hands are still recovering from the injuries. You can still see the dent in the door where he slammed her head against the door. And so the illegal alien dragged her into the restroom after beating her up and stole her truck, abandoned the truck in Douglas. By the way, he went to 2 fast food restaurants in her truck, finally arrested him for smuggling the next day. So here's a woman beat almost to death. The guy broke a rock over her head, and he had no legal right to be in this country. So ladies and gentlemen, let's just build a fence, double-layer security fence. Let's man that thing. If we can do it in Korea, we can do it here. But realize, and I'll take calls in the next segment. So 888-589-8840. We'll take as many calls as we can in the next segment. But what is it that is motivating the Republican Party to go along with this? This is suicidal. It is suicidal for the United States. It is suicidal for the Republican Party. Why in the world are they going along with this? And there is one reason, and that reason alone is money. Because big corporations have promised them a lot of money for their re-election campaigns if they will give them amnesty. You want to know why the Republican leadership, the ruling class Republicans, want to do amnesty in August? Because they want that money for their campaigns for November. That's why they want to do it in August. It's money. They have sold their souls to the immigration devil, to Facebook and Microsoft and Chamber of Commerce, all of whom want this cheap labor, and have promised the Republican Party boatloads of money if the Republican Party will cooperate in amnesty, getting them cheap labor. It's all about money. They've sold their souls, ladies and gentlemen. They're selling us and our country out. Focal Point, AFR Talk.
On the next Today's Issues.
Guests include Eric Metaxas talking about co-hosting the television program 100 Huntley Street. Deborah Ross of Deborah Ross Ministries shares God's healing of her marriage from her book, Healing a Broken Marriage. And